will be here shortly. She's tied up in traffic. But I'd like to get everything going with the start. Welcome you all tonight, first of all. Call the order and pledge allegiance to the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of August 18th was a special meeting. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Did we get the minutes circulated?
Yes.
We did. I just got to make sure. Any questions? If none, could I have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes of the August 18th special meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Written communication received by board members. Anyone have any communication?
Excuse me, Mr. That's ask you have to ask for a vote.
See, I don't thank God I don't do this too often, huh?
Point of order.
Could I have a vote, please?
Aye.
So moved. Written communications received by board members. Is there any? Opening to members of the public who wish to be heard on any item agenda. Mr. Duco, 116 Lewis Road.
Do I have to repeat that or not? Address that I say it illegally, or
I think you're all right. We have it.
Yeah.
I know you had a special meeting for the public July 30th. I missed it. I just want to say that in light of the Goman study, and at the very beginning, I saw what the Renaissance Company, their background. They never built anything. I don't think they have a reputable business background. And the Goman study is a viable study. I don't recommend that the BDDC or the City of Bristol goes any further with this project with them and to leave them out. I fear for some of the surrounding streets and neighborhoods around here, bringing in more housing when there exists a low-income housing, middle-income housing around this area. That's going to drive it down further. And the landlords, that's not, maybe not, landlords are never in a beneficial light, but be creating more of a problem. That's not what the original vision was with the project. I personally never believed that the old mall should have been knocked down. It wasn't an eyesore, as some former mayors quoted it to be. I know that's a mistake. If it has to be, we're entering, if we go any further with Renaissance and the Goldman study, I emphasize that. You had a reputable firm that comes out with this conclusion that it's not a good idea to proceed with this outfit and the proposal. I think most Bristol citizens are on the viewpoint that this is a fiscally risky project. Never mind, this hasn't ever even gone to the finance board, and I don't know if you'll answer my question if the finance board would ever be involved with this at all. It would be even checked there, but
If there was any public expenditure or any public money that went into it, certainly we would. Okay.
But my viewpoint, I didn't show up to the July 30th. This is probably one of the last times the public can enter their viewpoint, and I do so.
Thank you. Sean?
Ruest. Thank you. Sean Ruest, 53 Lancaster Road. I just want to say that, first off, I want to dispel the rumor that I'm against Renaissance. I'm not per se against Renaissance. What I'm against is building sustainable development here in the downtown. I think a regional plan would be a mistake because we don't have the free market activity to expand the housing, and there's no real way, I know people say we need to change the demographics in the downtown if we want to grow Bristol. Unless somebody can tell me how we're going to control what kind of demographics is going to fill this housing, I think it's extremely risky. It would be an expansion to low income. You have a state that wants to expand low income ridership for transit, and that's the way I see it. Is we're building density to build a transit ridership. We're not building density for economic development, and that's actually the state's recipe for economic growth, is to give people access to public transportation. So you're taking water out of one side of the pool and you're putting it in the other side. I understand how we got into this, and I've had a few revelations as to the intentions of certain city leaders and perhaps this board as to how we got here. But basically, it's a top-down plan. I don't care how you slice it. If you try to sell it to the public like it was born of grassroots, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, even if you try to persecute me. And I don't mean anybody here personally on the board. I'm talking about the people that are doing it anonymously. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are the only folks that signed up. Anyone else would like to speak? Oh,
Hi.
Madam
My
Chairperson.
apologies to everybody. I got caught on the wrong side of a traffic
I am so
accident.
happy to see you.
I bet you will.
And we'll turn it over to you.
Oh. Are we? No, we're fine. We're at public comment?
Yes, and two individuals have spoken, and I just mentioned if anyone else would like to speak that didn't have an opportunity to sign up. Come on, go ahead.
I have only one question.
Why don't you come over here and just state your name and your address, please?
Ray Matisovich, from 156th Street, Bristol. There's only one question on the Renaissance. As far as I understand, they breached their contract. When a contract is breached, it usually comes to an end. We're spending money on something and somebody, and there's only one other question. This company, do they have any other projects on their plate, or are we financing their life?
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who didn't have an opportunity to sign up who'd like to be heard? Okay, hearing no one, we will move on to new business. We'll take the treasurer's report and any action on pending
No
invoices.
report.
No report. No pending invoices?
No pending invoices.
No pending invoices.
I have one, but we had the same snafu with
Okay.
the firm, so we're
Okay,
going to rerun
excuse me.
it, clean that up and get it to you.
Okay.
Great. Then the next item on the agenda is discussion of Renaissance's draft financing, development, and leasing plan, and to take any necessary action. And then I think that dovetails with item C, which is discussion of the corporation's recommendation, if any, to the City Council regarding Renaissance's draft financing, development, and leasing plan, and to take any necessary action. And I'd like to preface this discussion by saying that the board is meeting tonight with the intent of discussing the plans that have been presented and making a recommendation to the City Council. It is my understanding that the City Council is going to hold a special meeting sometime next week. I don't know when the date is, to discuss the recommendation that we're going to be making to the Council after tonight's meeting. I don't believe that they're going to be taking up the substance of our recommendation at the City Council meeting tonight. Obviously, since we have no idea what the hour will be when we actually vote on a recommendation. But with that, I'd like to give Renaissance an opportunity if you want to provide any updates or comments on the finance development and lease plan.
Sure. We've spent a lot of time discussing this project. I know there are a lot of folks that...
Could you speak up? We can't hear you.
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. Usually I don't have that problem. So I was saying that, we've spent a lot of time over, obviously, the past couple of years working on this project. If you have not been involved, I'm sorry for that, but this has been to the greatest extent that we've ever experienced in this country as grassroots and as public and transparent and public participation of a process that exists as far as we're concerned. I would be surprised if someone could show me a project that was more publicly transparent and had as much public input as this project has had. I will tell you that we have embarked upon this project because we believe very strongly in the city. We have become very close with a lot of folks in the city. We continue to believe that this project will be successful. If you were able to attend our presentation post the Goldman and York study, we were able to show folks the portions of the study that we disagreed with. We were able to show folks what the potential impact of assistance with this project would mean. We were able to prove to folks that the vision has not changed one bit since the project was originally conceived. The concept master plan that was adopted 3 years ago is the exact same project that we're pursuing today. It always had residential as a major component. It always had a mix of uses, including retail, office, hotel, and we continue to push forward that vision. As far as our experience, I'd be happy to sit down with anyone and show them the millions of square feet of development that our company has brought forth and been responsible for and constructed and built over our history. We are doing something different. We started Renaissance as a company to bring forth revitalization of downtowns like Bristol. Downtowns that were disinvested for years, downtowns that have been ignored for quite some time. It is not an easy thing to do. We recognize that. We faced a lot of challenges, but we're willing to work through all this. We have financed this entire effort. I will not say that the city has not put money, time, and tons of volunteers. Thank you to everybody on this board and everybody in the city that's been involved into this, because they have, absolutely. But we're not getting paid for this. The only way we get paid is if we see success. We probably won't make any money even if we're able to get this first phase going to start the downtown revitalization. But we believe so strongly in the future of this city, as well as tons of other downtowns across this country, that we're willing to see it through and continue to work and do whatever's necessary to bring it forward. It's a commitment that we've made. It's a commitment that we believe in. We can point to projects all over this country, and many folks in this room that have been part of this process since the very beginning have done the actual research to see successes throughout this country in cities just like this. Most of them have required some assistance to get going. And I know that that's not the most palatable thing, especially to folks who have not been involved in the process. But we have an office here in City Hall. I would encourage you to learn more about the project. We are excited to bring this forward because we know this is the right thing to do for downtown Bristol. Every expert who has been involved in this process and has looked at this project agrees this is the right thing to do. Even the Goldman and York folks, who we disagree with their assumptions and their feelings about our rent that we can accomplish here, they even said you should continue to work with Renaissance in their study. It's written. They even said this is the right thing to do for the future of downtown Bristol. So every expert who's been involved in this, every developer that we've ever dealt with, your local developers, your regional developers, national developers, this board of professionals, the city council, the city's professionals, have all agreed this is the right thing to do for the future of this downtown. And we believe that. And we believe that we're willing to do whatever it takes to work with the city and the community to bring forth a great downtown and a place that we can all be proud of. But it is going to continue to take hard work. I will remind you that projects like Blueback Square and Store Center take 7, 10 plus years to get in the ground. We're able to do this probably quicker if we continue to work together. But we have to work together. So we are as committed as ever to this project. We believe wholeheartedly this is the right thing to do for this city. And we're excited to take the next steps and continue to work with the community on bringing forth the vision for downtown. So thank you.
Before we commence our discussion, I do want to take a minute, and all of you have been here before, but I just want to let people know how we got to where we are, what the process has entailed. We do have a contract with Renaissance Downtowns. That contract specified that there was supposed to be a first closing in May of this year. Prior to that closing, there was supposed to be the presentation of a financing, development, and leasing plan for the approval of this board and recommendation to the City Council. Early in the year, and it wasn't at the last minute, it was literally, I believe, in actually maybe December of last year or January, Renaissance approached the city and the board and let us know that they were not going to be able to obtain private financing for all of Phase 1 as it had been proposed. and they wanted to explore options with the board and the city of either splitting the phases or exploring alternative financing, potentially public funding. And we started having those, a small working group having some of those discussions with Renaissance. Most of the plans that were submitted by Renaissance that were not submitted confidentially were given out publicly. There was discussion had. Renaissance proposed a split phase where they would put in a building A, which is the 100 units of residential, and they were requesting approximately $6 million of public financing for that. There were other options that were explored. There was CHAMP financing that was explored. There was EB-5 financing. There was TIP bonding. There were all different kinds of options that were explored between Renaissance, the city, and the BDDC. As we got closer to the deadline for the first closing, the board decided that we really weren't happy with just having a single option. And we negotiated an extension to the contract with Renaissance. To keep them out of breach of the contract, we negotiated an extension, and we asked them to go back and look at other alternatives. We asked them to look at the option of doing Building B first, which is the combination residential retail building. We asked them to look at other types of financing. Again, we continued in working groups. A lot of the folks you see here, Kelly Marr, John Lodovico, gave ample amounts of time, late nights, sitting at the Renaissance. Henry Martin was at many of those meetings trying to work something out so we can get shovels in the ground to get a project moving forward. Renaissance responded. They submitted everything we asked them to submit. They explored every option we asked them to explore. And the timeline that we committed to and the extension that we laid out provided that this board would make a recommendation in October, which is now, as to how Renaissance was going to proceed, whether it was going to be Building A, Building B, the financing, whether we were just going to recommend the termination of the contract. But that we recommend.
Good evening. Welcome to the joint board meeting today, October 14th, the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask members to introduce themselves, starting on my far right.
John Smith, Board of Finance.
Mike Green, Board of Finance.
Michael Lamoth, Board of Finance.
Ellen Zoppo, City Council.
Paul Tonin, Board of Finance.
Cheryl Tebow, Board of Finance.
Eric Carlson, City Council.
Rich Franzikowski, City Council.
Mary Fortier, City Council.
Calvin Brown, City Council.
Jake Cavalier, Board of Finance.
Derek Chuzleski, Board of Finance.
Town Clerk Therese Pack.
Assistant Dawn Labella.
And Mayor Ken Kotkin. Councilman Martin is in another meeting, and Board of Finance member, former Mayor Ward, is at a different meeting as well. Item number 1.
Approval of minutes of the regular joint board meeting on September 9th, 2014.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2.
To make an additional appropriation of $14,400 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund for the 2014 Distracted Driving High Visibility Enforcement Grant.
Motion moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 3.
To carry over $15,000 within the general fund from fiscal year 2013-2014 to fiscal year 2014-2015 related to the relocation of the probate court.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 3.
To transfer $13,279 within the sewer operating and assessment fund as of June 30th, 2014 for year-end transfers.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.
To transfer $40,155 within the Public Works operating budget as of June 30th, 2014 for year-end transfers.
Approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6.
To transfer $76,201 within the LoCIP fund for the recycle processing facility.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The motion passes. Item 7.
To transfer $101,100 within the sewer operating and assessment fund.
Move it. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Item 8.
To make an additional appropriation of $8,529 within the Stormwater Trust operating budget as of June 30th, 2014.
Approval.
Second.
Made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes. Item 9.
To make an additional appropriation of $202,720 within the Capital Projects Fund funded by bond proceeds for the purchase of the streetlights.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The motion passes. Item number 11.
To make additional appropriations of $1,041,484 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund as of June 30th, 2014.
Motion to move. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes. Item number 12.
Actually, that was number 10.
Oh,
So we got to do number 11.
sorry. Item number 11.
To transfer $94,882 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund as of June 30th, 2014.
Approval.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The motion passes. Item number 12.
Is the consent calendar, and there are 2 items. First item is item 12A, to make an additional appropriation totaling $328,500 within the Special Education Grant Fund funded by grant revenue. And item 12B is to make an additional appropriation totaling $32,900 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund funded by grant revenue.
Approve. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes. Item 13.
The monthly revenue and expense report presentation by the Controller.
Good evening, Mayor and everyone. I have a few items to discuss that are not in the report that just occurred after the report was issued. It seems that we're doing fine with our variances and all that type of thing, but we received what I'm guessing is a final disposition of the resource recovery money, Covanta. We received a check for $33,000 this week. I deposited the check into the new transfer station fund. Last year, we had a $94,000, it was a new fund that was established, and we had a $94,000 deficit. I understand since that time that the fees have been rescheduled and increased, but nevertheless, this will help to dissolve that problem that exists in that fund. Tomorrow at 11:30, we're having a note sale on the mall property. The original note back several years ago was for $7.1 million, and it's very uncharacteristic, but it's a taxable note given what is being developed there or proposed to be developed there. So the state bond council made it taxable to us. It's usually a few basis points higher than obviously a non-taxable. Started out at $7.1 million. And we kept on rolling it over. We're down to $5 million, and we really didn't include any of that money in the general fund mill rate affected. What we did is a year-end fund balances, we transferred over to that fund. Any premiums on issues, we transferred to that fund. So we've been taking it down for the last several years on just excess fund balances rather than have those fund balances go to the general fund. Something that John Smith for several years has been talking about, managing fund balance, and that's exactly what we're doing. So you may recall that we increased our policy from 10 to 15%, and we're on the higher end of it, approaching 13.5% of undesignated fund balance, and that could go higher this year with some surpluses anticipated, but we're not going to let that happen. We'll approach the Board of Finance and make recommendations to where those surpluses will go. So it'll ease the burden on the taxpayers with regard to mill rate. Excuse me. So that's going to take place tomorrow. Once we have the bids in place and we award the notes to whatever institution is awarded, my office will notify you to let you know what the rate is and who was the winners and what were the rates bidding. I suspect it'll be under 3% since it's a note, not a bond. A couple other interesting things that happened for the city is last week we received a call from Standard & Poor's, and they want to have a rating review with me. What is interesting, if you may recall, we had them back in the spring, and I forwarded the questions that we had, that they asked at that time, and we then thought we were fine. Matter of fact, they complimented us on the format and content of our response. But they called again last week, and they're setting up a schedule sometime in the near future, within the next couple of weeks, to review once again. You may have seen in the paper, a couple of municipalities have received upgrades. It was in the paper today. Bloomfield received an upgrade. Last week, there was another municipality from S&P. Of course, there was also a downgrade by our capital city. So it's going to be interesting to see what those questions are, and I'll forward them to you. And along that same lines, today we received a call from Fitch Rating Services. And I don't know what's prompting this, but along the same lines, they're planning to call in next week and have a rating profile with us. So in part, it's my idea of a good time. I welcome the challenge, so I'm sure we're going to put the city in a positive light. We distributed to you what the prior Fitch rating review was, and just briefly, some of the key rating drivers that are in this review, and Standard & Poor's had the same thing on file, is basically we have a very healthy financial profile. We have very few deficits. We talked about the transfer station. We're going to manage that. It's a small fund. It's a $100,000 fund. We have millions of dollars of funds, and they're all positive. We've got very low debt burden levels. We're going to top that again, although in the spring we're probably going to issue another $35 to $40 million for the projects that we've been self-funding from fund balance. And then I would imagine we'll take a hiccup for a couple of years on issuing debt, and rating agencies like that, they don't really want to see in the market every year. So we've been doing that every couple of years, every 2.5 years, and it's been fine. They talked about, you'll read on your own time, the strong management, and that really means the policies have been adhered to of the city that the Board of Finance established and was also approved by the council. Use of fund balance is quoted in there. We're down to $350,000. When I started here 15 years ago, it was $3.6 million use of fund balance. That's a bad thing. We're down to $350. If we have substantial surpluses this year, I'm probably going to recommend that we go to zero. And the reason being is that I was going to plan over 2 years, but if we do it this year and we tout that at the rating presentation in the spring, that gives us a strong possibility for an upgrade. We're a AA2. The next upgrade would be a AA1, and AAA is the highest. AAAs don't happen for cities. That's just rare. But to even be a AA1. AA2 is an extremely strong rating, and that's because of the strengths that I mentioned, but we're still going to try that AA1. That use of fund balance policy will probably push us over the top. We don't use one-time revenues for operating expenses, and all the policies that you see in the budget book are very favorable. We have warts and blemishes like any other community. There's a mixed socio-economic standing in the rating agency's eyes, and that's common for a community of our complexity, although inroads have been made with the mayor's blight program and other programs such as that, so we're going to tout that and talk how the community's turning around. We've had some economic grants and some revitalization of the downtown area. In addition, I'm sure there'll be questions about the mall property and what's proceeding forward, so I'll be reading the minutes of the previous meeting that happened and put a positive light on that. So we've got a few things happening as far as we've got the note sale, we've got a couple of rating reviews which are very important for the community, and we're in the middle of our audit process. And possibly one of the things that they may bring up is when we talk about management, I always talk about depth of staff. And you may recall that we lost David Burtnagel to Plymouth, became the finance director there. The rating agencies know that because Plymouth issued debt, and they also know that Dave worked for my office. So there may be a question there is how we're going about to fill that hole. We've gone out several times and not have found anybody suitable for the position, and I'd rather find someone suitable than just fill a position for the sake of it. We want depth of staff, and I'll wait on that. So. And then we're obviously very fortunate that they know that Robin came back, so that's a very strong plus. But depth of staff is very important, and I've touted that for quite a while, and we got a minor hole that we're going to, I shouldn't say minor, we have a hole that we're going to fix. So that's my report.
Any questions? Thank you, Bud.
You're welcome.
Any other business? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. Motion made, seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Council meeting, 5 minutes.